the top lane ban of Gnar coming away here actually will affect the jungle matchup somewhat, because that is what Yang and Revolta utilized as the two-person matchup was with the Elise alongside. So that 2v2 in the top side, really strong, and it was actually just a 2v1 against MarkZ. So we'll see if they can do something similar.
Right, well, the expected Nidalee ban, kind of one of the runaway picks from this tournament, the most targeted pick in general in terms of both ban and pick rate. Also the Rise ban, I think it's really good. We've seen Ryu have 2 monster games in a row on it. So even if you're usually not scared of it, if someone's kind of grooving on a champion, I like trying to knock them off it.
So exactly right. Momentum is a big deal in League of Legends.
We're in an interesting situation now as we don't get a jungle ban here. That's because they're likely letting the Elise and the Lee Sin through here at this point. We've still got the Rek'Sai available, the Skarner we saw out of Revolta as well. Heading towards the Syndra first pick doesn't particularly affect the jungle as a standalone matchup, but obviously Syndra can set up so many ganks, you can set up so many skirmishes throughout the game with jungle support, makes it for a potential pick.
And there's the Syndra ban. there you go.
Just flat out not going to happen. Remember, of course, as we do conclude the bans, send us your questions about the jungle matchup on Twitter. Use the hashtag AskTheCasters, and we'll pick a few and share them during the game.
And now we're on to Elise, being the potential first pick, with Sivir being the other one when we look at the meta as a whole. Depends on where iNTZ want to go.
Yeah, I actually, Sivir is interesting to me because H2K doesn't play a very Sivir style. They're so focused on getting these kind of strong lanes, especially for Forgiven. To have him stuck on a Sivir doesn't feel like what's been working for them game plan wise today. So I'm not sure if INTZ will feel like they need to take it away right here. Maybe they do go for that Elise instead.
And that's why I like the Caitlyn ban here. While it's not jungle focused, as you said, he's been playing very siege focused, a lot more towards pushing up to towers. And now with the Elise taken away, JANKOS likely is going to pick up the Elise in later on down this draft. But H2K have the option should they want the Alistar that we've been seeing a couple of times. Also top lane pick of the litter right now, honestly.
MarkZ, of course, looking like a genius now as well, calling out the Elise first pick.
So difficult, that 50-50.
Hey man, Rek'Sai was available, there's Lee Sin, all sorts of things could have happened. Revolta, pretty dang good Lee Sin player, but does make a heck of a lot of sense, especially today and after yesterday. Peanut's performance was stunning, and that was one of the jungle champions that we were expecting to be a whole lot more successful. Week 1 did see a lot of picks early on, but then didn't find necessarily the performance we were expecting out of Elise. But we are looking at H2K. Looks like the support and mid lane have been locked away as the Alistar and the Cassiopeia are going to be picked up. Now Revolta and tockers to make their decisions for their team.
Right, I mean, we were saying the Alistar, not much of a surprise to be taken there. One of the most impactful supports you can take right now in terms of just game impact, as well as having a pretty solid laning phase. The Cassiopeia, a little bit of a surprise for me. But at the same time, there has been a little bit of a mid-focus because Karma is technically a mid laner as well as Rise and the Syndra, so maybe he thought this was the best available option left for him.
Yeah, and this is something we were studying H2K's drafts fairly heavily from week 1. They early picked the Cassiopeia fairly often, especially while the Vlad was available as well. Right. This is a confident pick for Ryu. He knows he can have an impact on it, so they were drafting this even on blue side when the counter pick, you know, could have been left to later for them. But on red side, even drafting it first rotation, I wouldn't say is a surprise, but it's still, when you look at drafts holistically, is a bit different from what most teams would draft.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that's important to point out too, since we're more on the jungle focus stream, is that there's a pretty high likelihood that H2K ends up taking a manaless jungler, and one of the biggest strengths for Cassiopeia is when a Rek'Sai or a Lee Sin is able to donate over to her level 4, and that's really when she starts taking control of lanes, and we saw a lot of different mid laners who are playing some kind of Vladimir thing that's usually okay into Cassiopeia start getting run over when that blue buff gets handed over. But as I say that, they take Olaf, who does use blue.
Yeah, and Sivir as well. I mean, Stress, you were talking about the fact that Forgiven, not necessarily the Sivir guy, but is going to have more of that utility role this time around.
Yeah, he played a whole bunch through summer, so it's not overly surprising, but as you were saying, Mark, it is today when you look at how H2K have been winning today, a very, very different playstyle. But iNTZ, we didn't pick up too much on their AD focus here, but Ezreal, Jayce setting up for a poke-style composition that they're looking for. Along with that, Elise can offer you some kind of dive, so very interesting difference here. iNTZ running a fairly difficult comp to pull off.
Right.
That Jayce can go mid, of course, but still the option to change it around.
Yeah, the big scary thing now for INTZ is where are they going to get any form of tank? Oh, Aurelion Sol.
Yeah, locked in for tockers.
I mean, we'll have to see how he's able to influence the map, because the nice thing about when you're running a poke comp is you have to get ahead, and Aurelion Sol is basically one of the best champions for doing that, able to influence the map from an extremely early level, basically level 1, as who he was able to show us. So that, along with the Bard, gives them a lot of potential playmaking, especially early. But once again, if they go into the mid game tied up, they really don't have much in the way of controlling areas and things like that.
And since we're looking at the jungle matchup, we didn't touch too much yet on the Olaf itself. JANKOS hasn't brought it out too frequently, but it is definitely the kind of champion that he would be comfortable on. Has early game impact. Yes, it is blue buff reliant, as you were talking about, but certainly JANKOS is no stranger to picking up a buff, heading into a lane, getting a first blood, and trying to snowball the game off it. So certainly H2K have a composition built around that, and now just need a top laner to go into the mix.
Yeah, overall, definitely liking H2K's comp so far. Pretty much anything top lane rounds it out. You already have magic, physical, engage, tanks. You have everything you could possibly want.
At that point, maybe Poppy for Odoamne. We've seen it a lot into the Jayce and does allow them to set up fights fairly effectively around the Olaf.
But Rumble does make a lot of sense. Of course, been seeing a whole lot more play and just skipped out on the pick and ban phase. Sorry, the ban phase earlier on. We'll see whether Odoamne is going to have a good performance because we've seen this matchup quite a few times. Of course, hearing from Zig about it, was a little bit upset with how things went in previous games. We'll see whether this is going to be a little bit more explosive.
He's going to be so salty if this is finally explosive one. He watched Rumble Jayce twice already. Not much happening. Guys not even trading. And then if we get an explosive game when he's finally just stepped off the desk, not going to be happy about it.
He is not going to be happy. I hope he's not listening backstage, just be triggered immediately. But we are going to be focusing on JANKOS and Revolta. Revolta, a lot of early pressure, but so does JANKOS. I mean, I have a feeling a lot of this is going to come down to where these junglers are going to be early on, and we will be tracking that very intently as this game gets underway.
I'm interested to see if we end up in a top lane 2v2 because there was so much damage from all four of these champions early on as well. So if there's no real target on Forgiven's back, which tends to be a bit of that global taunt that comes to his lane, we'll see exactly how this early jungle game plays out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what is going to happen here. And if we're having a look down the lanes here as well, I mean, aiming this at you, MarkZ, like, where are you aiming for? Do you have to get into that top 2v2, or are you looking at the mid lane for some potential gank opportunity? The bottom lane, perhaps? I mean, Bard and Alistar, a lot of CC down there.
I don't think you'll see much in terms of mid lane, just because Aurelion Sol is pretty uninteractive in terms of just press that W, stand there for a second, and then
you actually just wander around the lane and you clear it out. You don't even need to auto attack. It's beautiful, stunning. Lazy man's mid laner.
Yeah, so I think you'll see a lot more in the side lanes generally, and it'll be on Cassiopeia to try and follow those roams, though. It's difficult for her. And I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more top focus, especially since it's kind of carry versus carry, and those can be very snowbally matchups, and it just seems like there's not a ton of action up there today. Yeah,
it seems like just a little bit of a farm fest at the moment. But we are going to see whether things are going to change as we hop onto the Rift. iNTZ versus H2K for game number 5 of the day. I hope you guys are still awake after all of the action that has gone down today already. And Revolta and JANKOS are going to be making their way into the jungle, seeing what can happen. In fact, both of our featured players may find each other here.
Oh, it's like a scripted event to start this off. We are focusing on the jungle matchup, but there's some jungle territorial game down in the bottom side as well that we're looking at. I wonder whether tockers is going to make an early roam play like we saw at Ahuhi, potentially up to the top side since that's where his tri-bush is. We see if he can get around on that one, but that's one of those funky little plays you can make on Aurelion Sol. Roam out a lane after the first wave, catch somebody by surprise, but...
Yeah, pop the ghost, get down there immediately.
Yeah, the other thing you can do is just try and be annoying, end up on their race, take a couple of those away right after that level 1 push, see if they can mess with JANKOS at all.
Looks like Talia's gone, but not forgotten.
Nope. That's one thing a lot of people actually talk about is just mid laners who can shove level 1, because there's a lot of small advantages you can get off that, being wards or whatever, and trying to track the junglers early. And so Aurelion Sol is still one of the best at that, and we'll have to see if he goes for that option.
Well, at the moment, just sending some orbs around in circles in the mid lane. Revolta's going to get some help here from Yang in the jungle to start off. Blue side start here for the Elise does make a little bit of sense. Not going to go with the machete. We're having a bit of a conversation about this. Of course, Peanut going for the machete yesterday, but this time it's just the talisman. As the Jockster being frustrating.
That's a pretty nice trade because the way Olaf obviously trades, he does get fairly low off his initial clears. Will regenerate it up as he gets lower. Obviously, the attack speed and Olaf's kit allows him to stay a little healthier. But tockers is already on the roam. There was the first wave push in. It's not up to another lane yet, but you can see Ryu's chasing him. They know what potentially can happen from here, and we'll draft back to the lane.
I like the defensive play out of iNTZ, though, making sure that tockers is going to be there so Revolta can secure this steal. It's actually going to be a second camp as well, enemy red buff. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing you get with that little extra vision early, that they got the deep ward onto the blue buff. JANKOS going for a little uncommon of a start. Usually you just see jungler start topside, went for the early blue buff, and then got harassed on it. So this is actually relatively safe for Revolta to go for. as well as Aurelion Sol being able to push in and help you secure any extra deep wards, because you see they have 2 on that side already. He's going to harass JANKOS on his Wraiths.
Oh, takes the 3
Raptors.
little popcorn chicken as well.
Popcorn chicken?
Yeah, a little popcorn chicken.
Oh, and he got the big...
steals the big one.
Whew. This is a pretty rough start for JANKOS. Getting interrupted, now having his red taken away. Unless somehow he can get down into the bottom side, he's getting 3-buffed. And I don't think there's too much away, because Jockster's right back in his jungle again.
This... What?
INTZ is doing such a good job just controlling JANKOS' early game, and
that
even
was
though
a beautiful journey too.
They're even in CS right now, Revolta's just going to explode over him. He has his entire jungle up basically, and he can do whatever path he wants. I mean, he doesn't even need to go bot side really, technically here. He can go back top side if he wants to.
And the thing about if he does decide to go bot side is Revolta now knows there is no way of H2K really securing anything from the bot side jungle in the way of a steal, because of the way the lanes are pushed. Mid is pushed up. Bot lane, Ezreal and Vander have been pushing as well for iNTZ. So if JANKOS ends up in that jungle, he's alone. And against an Elise, that is not a trade you really want this early on, when there's a level disparity in Elise's favor as well.
And when there's no Ragnarok to get out of any of these cocoons at the same time. Does look like Ryu has some control here in the mid lane, so it means that Revolta might need to be a little bit more careful as he makes his way around the jungle. Cassiopeia has control of her wave. Pretty slippery old champion to deal with early on.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Revolta started going up into the topside river, and if the minion wave's pushing into Aurelion Sol, I was kind of surprised they didn't go for some kind of gank onto Ryu. He doesn't have cleanse, which can be a little scary to not take versus Elise, and there's no vision on the top side yet, and he's kind of doing this semi-inefficient pathing now. I'm not sure exactly what he's looking for.
Actually just pinging onto JANKOS, just wants to kill him one more time. That Raptor camp.
Very strange start
He's
out
hungry,
of Revolta.
I think.
Having the lead, and then he's kind of not compounding it. He's getting the crab on the top side, but he's let JANKOS almost catch up on experience. He still is at a disadvantage, and now they're interrupting. Maybe for Ryu.
Oh, there we go.
Good
CC
chain. JANKOS is going to find his way in here. Tockers just making sure he uses these orbs. Just walks at someone and they take damage without pressing any buttons. Nicely done.
Yeah, Revolta's looking to just snowball his advantage over JANKOS as much as possible by trying to find him at every point. He could have kept clearing on the bot side, gotten his red, golems, get some kind of reset in, but I think he's just more focused on keeping him JANKOS down, and so after Bard had seen him in the bot side, he wants to go invade him on top side again where they expect him to be, and they were right. He was there, they got a fight, and they get a summoner advantage now.
Now JANKOS actually looking for something here on the bottom side. Jockster quite low as micaO's going to get headbutted. Good arcane shift gets him out of the way. As JANKOS, he's burning down. Mystic Shot not going to find the Olaf, who says, I'm just going to limp back into my jungle, guys. It's going to be okay.
One summoner for 2 in this bottom lane. micaO had to flash out himself, so that's a repeatable gank if they want it. But iNTZ already coming down into the bot side, trying to find JANKOS if he stuck around, but he recalled out the back of the lane, so fairly safe.
How many of Revolta's own creeps has he actually taken? Is the real question here, because it looks like he doesn't even know that his bottom side jungle exists.
He found Wraiths there once, or Raptors once.
Yeah, he did. He just really likes Raptors.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't need it if he's got JANKOS jungle to himself as well.
Right, I mean, that's the scary thing, is like, what is JANKOS going to be able to do here? He's going to lose. Oh, you have to smite though.
6 smite. That's going to mean the Wolf Spirit there as well, as Revolta has to flash himself out of the way. There's the equalizer going down as Revolta's taking so much damage. First blood goes to Vander, punishing this aggressive Elise play.
Yeah. Oh, just slightly over-aggressive there. I think at some point you need to eventually get out of the other dude's jungle and start focusing on your own. He hadn't shopped yet in the first 6 minutes of the game. He hadn't even touched his camps, which actually sets you behind because camps jungle level doesn't increase until you finally clear them the first time. So his red buff is level 1, his golems are level... Well, actually, they're whatever they are when they respawn from the bot lane, probably taking them. But the point is that he's not being as efficient as he could be.
But what we've got to look at in this setup is iNTZ had just lost a bot lane trade. Yes, Olaf had recalled, but he's obviously faster back from the base. And Aurelion Sol had recalled at that same time. So you've basically lost 2 people there as backup, and Revolta's still in the enemy jungle, loses the smite fight and has to back away and gets caught on the way out by a TP. No real answer from Yang because he couldn't really have got anything done in that scenario as Jayce either. So a tough setup from Revolta, perhaps being a little too aggressive in the enemy jungle.
I do like it though. I mean, keep things aggressive. That's what we're talking about. We're following the jungle around. We want things to be going on, and Revolta is certainly helping out in that aspect. And JANKOS, excited for him because he gets his Raptor camp this time around. Thank goodness.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we should be happy about the action in the jungle stream as opposed to, you know, if it was the best idea.
Oh, we're talking about you know, the terrible top lane, no action situation that we were talking about before.
Yeah, it looks like Zig isn't going to be too mad.
Yeah.
We had the same thing with AD carries. We had Forgiven and Deft, and they just farmed up to like 300 and had one team fight, and that was the game. It was great.
Yeah, it was.
It was nice. It was a fun matchup earlier today, but at least we got a little bit more on in this one. There's the magic resist you were talking about out of the Aurelion Sol out in the middle lane. So already has that Spectre's Cowl. And
Skipping
has
the Catalyst as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, they're a relatively similar price, so
Yeah,
Tockers
definitely
could have gone for that.
a little surprising there. And this is what we were touching on too, is the fact that JANKOS already has a level lead and a CS lead over the Elise, who spent so much time trying to get like these oppressive plays as opposed to just going for the more efficient one. That's kind of the difference you see in jungle styles that some people have.
One of the weird things that's happening specifically in mid lane, and we will get back to the jungle in a sec, as JANKOS is heading top. Ryu closed about a 15 CS gap between Tockers and Ryu, and normally one of the advantages of Aurelion Sol into a non-TP lane is you get very efficient, quick backs in lane. And unfortunately, Tockers, having to back earlier and then roamed out of the lane, just gave a lot of CS over to Ryu and didn't quite time the aggression there. So Ryu got the ability to catch up. And JANKOS been up in this top side a long time. Revolta's around, but...
Yeah, he's got a luxury tent up here. His acceleration gate is going to help get Yang out. He gets burnt down a little bit, but Equalizer just not going to be enough.
Yeah, it's almost feels like it isn't worth it. Just recall out of the brush. That extra chunk damage you just got for trading the Rumble ultimate is really not worth it for revealing yourself on the map. And the Bard is able to play a little bit more up onto the Alistar. Bard being one of the best, or used to be one of the best picks in the Alistar in terms of controlling it. I believe it's still pretty much the case.
Yeah, no flash as well on Vander, and we'll see whether it is going to be Revolta heading down towards the bottom side now. You can see walking down there in that general direction. And with a cow, not quite level 6, possibly a delicious option.
Possibly. Both junglers opting for the cooldown boots. We've seen that fairly frequently on the Olaf. Maybe not always on Elise. A couple of times
we
we'll
did see
see the
Sorcerer
Mercs
shoes
come out.
yesterday.
Yeah, I think
Sorcerers.
Yeah, Sorks, I think he's not snowballing as much as he wants to. Merc treads as well, there's not much tenacity that you're trying to reduce here. It's just mostly a lot of slows, not much actual hard CC. As an engage goes on to Vander, jukes.
Yeah, nice juke to get himself out.
His
But Tockers
Tockers,
is over the wall. The Dragon makes his way in. Decent stun, but Vander immediately ultimates as JANKOS finds his way around the side. 4 members of iNTZ trying to get the heck out of here. Thank goodness there are some minions as Revolta gets healed up. Sped up there as well as Forgiven makes his way in, gets the flash. And there's the miasma from Ryu as they're chasing down iNTZ. Revolta, nothing he can do. Big ultimate comes out from Tockers, but there's the twin fang onto Jockster. 0-3 now for iNTZ. H2K continue their momentum here into Game 5.
And just the threat of JANKOS and his ability to pop that Ragnarok meant Tockers held his Breath of Light for so long in that fight. Just couldn't use it to disengage because he figured JANKOS was just going to ult through it and held onto it. They get the initial kill from that, and H2K having a great start.
Whoa, that's an aggressive teleport as Yang is going to find his way into the back of this fight. He's going to do a lot of damage to Vander here. Of course, no ultimate, remember, as micaO makes his way in. Good flash gets Vander out of the way, and it's JANKOS that picks up the kill. The jungler that had so much pressure early is now 1-0-3. Ryu is going to get cocooned as Tockers still looking for more, and iNTZ really want to find something, but just can't.
This is that pure greed play that they're looking for. Just never ending this fight, TPing more people in, trying to get behind them, and they don't pick anybody up.
What a brilliant stun out of Ryu, though. As the cocoon was in the air, hitting 2 people to save himself, just enough to keep himself alive. H2K played that fight really well, and iNTZ were, as you said, too greedy under the tower, trying to get something. I like what they were trying to do with Tockers, bringing him over from mid lane, but unfortunately, H2K just reacted very well.
The theory was good.
Potentially. I'm not sure I quite agree with the TP flank Jayce.
That's true.
And behind 3 people.
Is that a righteous glory first JANKOS Olaf with the catalyst? Because it's not going into...
Yeah, I guess it would be. I'm not sure.
The Randuins of
Unless
Ascension.
I'm missing something
Tockers crashing into the
blatantly
wall.
obvious.
No, I think they're just looking to move as fast as they can. They already got Sivir in there and may as well get some more speed items.
I guess the other question that you've got to ask is it going to be a GLP 800 or a Rod of Ages? You know, I mean, there's not many things that the old Catalyst builds into.
That's. I was racking my brain. I was like,
Super
GLP,
Soaker Olaf? Like, what's that
Rod of
about?
Ages.
He wants another slow. He only got 2 axes.
Yeah, I'm
Get
into
a gun.
Yeah, I think that's on a pretty low cooldown. But iNTZ are going to switch towards the top side of the map. Jockster not going to find an ultimate, but first brick looks to be taken down. And iNTZ secure it, so that's going to even back out the gold, but Infernal Drake should belong to JANKOS here.
And I think H2K will be okay with that in the long run. Infernal Drake with this kind of composition where you got a Sivir, you got a Cassiopeia, and an Olaf and a Rumble and everything else.
Almost
like,
everyone's going to enjoy
and
it.
Alistar
It's like great.
gets the AD from his ultimate and the Infernal Drake. Am I right?
Brilliant.
That's the dream.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea from Ints trying to just break the map open a little bit more. Hopefully they can look for more Aurelion Sol roams now that some outer turrets are being dropped. And it looks like they're going to go for a tier 2. But I'm not sure this is a 100% favorable trade, but they are behind. So I like the idea of trying to get something going here.
Depends how much Ryu can get down, because he is heading up to that top side. Ghost has his ult.
We'll see whether they can find anything. It's a 4 versus 3. The tower is going to go down as Revolta is trying to spider his way out of this one. Just goes up into the sky for a little bit, but he gets smacked in the head and twin bitten to be taken down. Really good by H2K, but the tower still fell.
Yeah, I actually like piecing it together. It's a tower and a dragon and 2 kills for 2 towers when behind, I guess, Ints. It's a nice gold surge for them. Whatever happens here, it probably isn't quite enough to offset the dragon as we go through this game, but probably more than they should have got in this situation.
Yes, but at the same time, they're not a comp that particularly is happy just scaling straight up. They're like we were saying in Champs Select, their comp doesn't have a ton of synergy, and they wanted really to get a lot of roams and control early, and the fact that things haven't been going well, 0-6, it doesn't speak well to them. Like, Aurelion Sol isn't going to like, oh, I hit this item, now my power spike is here, great, I have my Banshee's Veil. I mean, the only one who really benefits, you could say, is Ezreal being able to get a little bit more items, but the Jayce, I mean, he's more early spiking. They're in trouble.
They certainly are. However, the gold isn't necessarily against them by a massive margin, about 1.5k. So iNTZ, based on their extra tower, are looking okay. But you're exactly right. The fact that this is a composition that you illustrated earlier needs to be finding their way ahead early on. Most certainly isn't the case as H2K with a much more straight down the line type composition. Just looking in control. And
considering, if I told you at the beginning of this that one of these junglers had their entire jungle taken away, got 3 buffed, and had pure like dominance over the early game, you'd probably say it was JANKOS from this scoreline, because he's just walking into bot lane, taking out Yang.
Is this going to be a double kill as well, as Revolta's trying to get his way out? Good undertow, though, from JANKOS.
We've got Bard coming down. If he can stall just a little bit longer, he might be able to turn this.
Yeah, decent dodge. Cocoon comes down. It is going to be JANKOS falling, so 1 for 2. In favor of iNTZ.
In the mid-time, in the mid lane, they're losing their tier 1.
In the mid-time, in the mean lane.
Just whatever, man. Just something's happening. You know, you can see it.
No, I liked it. That sentence actually sounded really cool. Don't know what it means, but it was provocative. Aurelion Sol.
We go for on the alternate stream.
Exactly right. It's an alternate experience. Use alternate words. We're going to have a look at this fight one more time. Thank goodness.
So Odoamne tries to take the trade, and a lot of damage comes out from Revolta and Yang. Obviously, this is, you know, what to expect from an Elise and a Jayce. The second axe missing, the one that's about to come, may have spelt the end of Revolta. Would have got the auto and then probably the E off if it had been available, but...
Yeah, that 2v2 is actually really interesting with Ints' side having the burst advantage. So if they get to open up first, they actually have a really, really big advantage because they can basically one-shot someone with the Elise Cocoon leading to just, you know, Shock Blast combo, Hammer Form Q. All that should basically insta-give someone, but because they're so far behind, the Olaf collapsing is basically able to start cleaning that fight up, which normally shouldn't go in their favor.
Ooh, Vander doesn't find the Pulverize. Just headbutts micaO out. Okay. You can have this one.
Seen totally a bunch of that. This tournament.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sort of whiffed headbutt poles, which is interesting on 0 ping.
And the
when you can
change,
buffer it.
Yeah, where they made it easier as well.
Yeah. But, you know, high pressure situation. And maybe it was Vander just wanting to get rid of the Ezreal, didn't want to start a fight.
Yeah, there's a decent chance of that too. They might just wanting to look to stabilize a little bit after that scrappy bot lane fight that didn't go in their favor. They might think they're playing a little loose.
Yeah, and their sort of late game decision making has been a whole lot better today. They've won 2 games already, looking to carry that momentum here into this one. And iNTZ haven't necessarily found the fight that they need to try and get back.
Both teams moving into a 1-3-1 here. This isn't too bad for Ints. From behind, if they're able to find a roam play with the Bard and the Elise moving together, they can potentially get something, and both AD carries are happy just sitting mid. So
And is this sort of the time of the game where you do need to be grouping with your support as a jungler? You should be trying to get that vision down, try and find some plays.
Yeah, and that's actually what you see H2K going for here. The Olaf is wrapping behind as Vander comes in the front trying to set up a dive, but INTZ is reading it and they're starting to move over here, but they might be a little too far behind to fight it.
Well, JANKOS running in. Wow. The Righteous Glory goes off as Magical Journey is going to get tockers out of there. Jockster, of course, was already gone. And their names have so much synergy together, and I love it when I can use them in a sentence.
JANKOS just pops his ult, pops the Righteous Glory, and just runs right at tockers, takes half his health away, and tockers has to think twice about it. But eventually it opens up that top tower for Ryu. He'd been pushing that up, but now here's the play onto mid lane from the Aurelion Sol. Can't quite reach Forgiven, and that kind of neutralizes that.
They do get an ultimate out of it, as Forgiven did have to use that on the hunt. But you're exactly right, not a whole lot to really eventuate. 2,000 gold now the lead for H2K, and Slow and Steady seems to be winning this race.
Ooh, Odoamne, please. He's got to just back away from that tower. It's already gone. Even without the dive threat, there's not really any way you can hold on to that. Jayce just destroys towers. Pop that hypercharge.
Exactly right. And Yang, of course, has been a shining light here for this iNTZ roster. Took care of Mouse in their first game of the tournament. Now looking to try and do the same thing as we move past the mid game.
Took care. You make it sound like it's like a mafia operation.
Yeah.
Took care of him.
I thought it was a cool way of talking about it. You know, we have to say a lot of the same thing in many different ways, Stress.
That's true.
Like taking Cloud Drake.
Yeah.
As H2K is doing now.
Yeah, they are going to conquer the dragon of the pit here in the river. And they are going to do so quite easily with absolutely no contest from iNTZ. Revolta tries to let go of this creep wave and give it to micaO. Didn't want to happen. Those creeps were pretty keen on killing the Elise at that stage.
Well, it wouldn't be the first person in this game. It would actually be the fourth.
That is a very good point.
Revolta, 6 deaths between the top side of the map for iNTZ has been a bit of a rough start. As we were talking about, like, this went so well in the very beginning of this game for Revolta, but overstaying in JANKOS jungle has had this knock-on effect. There's time after time now, it's been Revolta on the back foot rather than on the front foot, which they really should have been after taking 3 buffs and you know, forcing JANKOS down onto level 2 and out of his own jungle.
Right, it's especially sad given how their comp could have worked with the Aurelion Sol being able to move around a lot freer. If Revolta was able to keep up the pressure on JANKOS and they control vision around mid, it really just opens up a number of roams, the top side, the bot side, but after that initial flub by Revolta, it just makes it so much harder.
Revolta actually looking for JANKOS here as the Magical Journey gets Jockster out of there. Cocoon onto Ryu is very good as the teleport is there for the follow-up. Good repel. It's going to get Revolta into the sky, and Ryu is not going to find it, but tockers is going to fall in the back line. The Dragon just not in the right place.
Nope, trying to catch up to the rest of his team, gets caught out by H2K. Goes down on 1-for-0. It was a little ambitious of a play overall, having the TP in and having Revolta try and sit around the backside and pick up Ryu as JANKOS starts ghosting at Ezreal.
Well,
okay. Oh, good flash. There's micaO waiting for the E cooldown to come back up. Can they kill him in time? And they can, of course. JANKOS has got a couple of axes, and that'll certainly do it.
Well, that ghost play just gets in there, Vander in from the side. That's one of the reasons why Olaf's are building the Lucidity boots for that extra cooldown. Get it on ghosts as well.
Yeah,
means you can just pop that ghost whenever. Another fight in the mid lane.
The flank, Jayce strikes again, flashes himself out of there. Should be okay. As Ryu's looking to try and get himself over the wall. Jockster in trouble. No vision available as he flashes. Don't aggravate those wolves. He did. What were you thinking, buddy? Oh, dear.
He'd rather die to wolves than to a snake.
Hey, that's true. He's in charge of his own mortality, MarkZ.
Small victories, you know. You got to take your battles where you can get them.
Who was it that was coming on the top side? Was it JANKOS that was going to... Like,
Ryu was wrapping around one way. So.
Right. I saw Ryu was the one behind the wolf pit. I want to see who that was again to see whether it was that he wanted to give the Cassiopeia for some strange reason. Are we going to get the slow-mo replay
of the wolf kill?
I don't know why you'd want to give the Cassiopeia the kill, but we're going to see. We'll find out. Yang in from the side just couldn't really do too much. Does get himself out alive. Who is it? Yeah, it's JANKOS is coming around the top side now. Like,
probably
there's no way I can,
probably not thinking about anything really.
Yeah. But he sent up the salute after.
Just wanted to respawn faster, so he aggroed the wolf so he'd die earlier.
Yeah.
Get back on the map.
I like it. Some next level strategic plays from Jockster by killing himself on the wolf camp. I personally think being in charge of your own mortality is something that's to be celebrated as micaO gets himself out. JANKOS, he's on one drink.
He beats Jockster through.
Oh, that was hilarious. He is going to go golden for a moment, but that is going to let him see his death as he falls once again.
This is the best feeling as an Olaf ever, where you basically never need to worry about going too far. That's usually the Olaf syndrome you have to worry about, but now it's 100% encouraged. Go through the portal before Bard can. Do whatever you want.
This would be like Nori's favorite game to cast. Because he's all about, let's just smack people in the face with our buttons.
That was ridiculous. Did JANKOS even stop running to go through the portal there?
No, he was straight through, man.
Jeez.
Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Straight through the magical journey. I don't care if the bard's not even here yet. He'll turn up. It'll be fine. It's all a race for the Olaf.
Yep, I like this decision by H2K to not even bother, threatening Baron. Just start knocking down turrets. It has a really hard time holding them against your dive. It's basically free. And oh boy, this is a fast Olaf.
This is Ghost Righteous Glory on the hunt. Olaf.
Alt popped.
Oh my god.
And Jockster's just like, this is okay. This is fine. No, it's not.
Not okay. That is not okay,
there's
Olaf.
The zoom in.
Oh, he has a Cloud Drake as well.
Oh, okay. Just another.
That's 25 out of combat movement speed, if you guys didn't know.
I hadn't heard that before.
Well, thank goodness I'm here.
And NA, they spent so long convincing people that Cloud Drake was awesome and better than all the other ones.
We did the opposite. We spent people.
I should have been in EU.
We had enough time just being like, no one cares.
We just say what it does over and over again.
We got to the point where it was like, okay, it got buffed. That's great. It's still not amazing. Like, let's never die over Cloud Drake. Like, not worth it. Sit back. It's nice if you get 3 or 2. But
I'm just sad that the out of combat Dead Man's Plate stuff is gone, because now it's just like the little cloudy things. I like the little green Dead Man's Plate. It's my favorite.
But the thing is, it just looks like everybody's got some flatulence problem going on.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. Or smells really bad, yeah.
Well, JANKOS is up again.
Oh my goodness. Once again, incredibly fast, Jockster. You are certainly dead, and Revolta should be following here. Miasma, wrong direction. That was some fancy footwork as Revolta flashes. What is it with really slippery Elises in this tournament? That was beautiful.
Blue suede shoes?
Yeah. He's got 8 of them as well.
It's expensive pair, quote-unquote, of shoes.
JANKOS,
pair, yeah.
Meets his natural enemy, though, of a wall without flash.
Just as we were singing his praises. That's unfortunate. I feel like we can't suggest him.
Yep, Baron's definitely going to go in H2K's favor. Int's trying to trade for the mid turret, but Rumble's one of the best characters for stopping those kinds of trades. Just ults the minion wave.
Not a lot of vision here, and Ryu's got a heck of a lot of damage. Don't even need a Mountain Drake in order to take down that Baron very, very easily. Decent stun there to get tockers out. He's on a ward. H2K deciding to head straight up the mid lane.
And I think this is quite a frustrating game to watch from Ints, in the sense that we've seen so much and heard so much about Aurelion Sol and how powerful the roams are. And when you win the jungle matchup in the early game and you have a roaming mid laner that theoretically should be able to move between lanes freely, as you were talking about, Mark, and then it backfires, suddenly Aurelion Sol loses all of that potential. You start like giving away advantages to other lanes, they take the lead, and suddenly you can't actually take those roams to bot side like we saw. iNTZ got punished for it. And a lot of people look at this and go, oh, Aurelion Sol's not that powerful, it lost the game, it's not so great. People start drawing conclusions, but it's all about that execution.
Yeah, Aurelion Sol is definitely one of those champions that from behind looks awful. There's a couple of them. Lee Sin is probably the jungle one, where once you fall behind, you're
Cannon, another example.
Right, just no damage, and you're not tanky, so you basically just go in and die. Aurelion Sol at this point, an item and a half basically, and a relatively low range character, so when you don't have damage, you don't have tankiness, you're basically like, what does this champion do? And right now it's not much.
No. You look magnificent, however. So
one of the best looking champions in the game.
Precisely.
Particle effect wise.
Definitely.
So,
I mean, he can hold on to that. Tockers can hold on to that one. But at the moment, that is about it, as he's just swimming around in his own base. H2K haven't necessarily pushed their advantage too hard as far as taking down turrets are concerned. Still 4-3 in their favor, but could be a little bit more, I think, as they utilize the Baron to the best of their ability.
Rumble's going to get... they tried cutting the Rumble off. I guess they're giving up on the idea.
I think if they commit to this, they lose the inhib is the problem. Because, I mean, H2K have got such good momentum, such good damage on their side that I don't even think if they recall here for iNTZ that they can save the inhib.
No, this is going to go down. I mean, they're going to ult to stall, but JANKOS is fine just tanking that turret up, still at half health.
Yep. As Vander is going to get stunned. The ultimate comes in as On the Hunt is there. H2K were looking for some form of engage, but decide against it. Revolta doesn't have flash, so can't get any aggressive cocoons happening.
I'm actually quite happy to see H2K be a little more defensive over that. Getting the tower, pulling back away, like you were talking about with the Baron play earlier. They didn't need to rush to it. They were looking for turrets more than ending the game right now. And with, you know, the Drake advantage, they've still got Baron. They've got such good damage with, you know, the Cassiopeia and the Sivir never being shut down in this entire game so far. And their Olaf. I mean, H2K know that they can walk this one through.
Right, and I think it's a good thing to show some restraint with a comp like this. When you have so many go buttons, it's very easy to overextend. As we see, In's trying to make a final play onto Odoamne. They're sacking their whole middle base to go for this, but it looks like Odoamne might get out as well.
Well, JANKOS just took down Aurelion Sol.
Yeah, that is a tenderizer and a cleaver to the back of the head. And the Aurelion Sol will fall down. This inhibitor soon to follow as they actually decide to forego that one. Nexus turrets now under fire. H2K looking to win the game right here. 29 minutes in. A dominant performance. Once again, 3-0 for Europe on the day. Unbelievable from H2K as iNTZ not really having their best one. But it's all about the dominance, and especially from JANKOS, after all of that incredible pressure he had on him, to turn it all around, build a righteous glory before finishing a Cinderhulk. What a god.
Right, and I think it is a good testament to JANKOS' skill, because jungle is one of those roles that when you start getting pressured, it feels awful, because you're so reliant on your laners being able to help you out when this guy's in your jungle, pushing you off camps, and the fact that he has the mentality to stay in it, doesn't get tilted, and is able to claw back to a dominant position. Arguably the most important member of H2K in that win. He was running people over.
13 out of 16 kill participation as well. JANKOS was all around the map after getting all of that pressure, soaked it all up, and then brought it all home for his team. And this is a perfect example. I mean, Xmithy was a very, very good example last week as well of what an Olaf can do if you can take control early. And once again, just running over this roster. Yeah,
a lot of it comes from that very, you know, weird play by Revolta being aggressive in the enemy jungle. Odoamne with the peace of mind to teleport down to that and actually catch Revolta in. So certainly a team setup that allowed JANKOS to get back in the game, but that's all they needed, because from there, every play iNTZ tried to make, JANKOS was there, the rest of H2K were there, shutting him down in the entire way.
Yeah, so congratulations, Europe. Another hope is born, Stress.
Ooh. H2 what? H2 European team still in Worlds. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, as much hate as people have thrown at Europe, I mean, right now, NA has nobody in.
Well, I mean, I think the interesting thing is, like, you look at the growth shown by G2 and by H2K in the week off. H2K, you can see clearly, whether it's the strength of the group or whatever you want to attribute it to, H2K had a game plan for the first 2 games, and iNTZ shut their game plan down in picks and bans for the 3rd game, but it wasn't quite enough because the level was just a bit of a disparity. So H2K is certainly looking a lot better this week than they did last.
Right, I like the fact that you basically see a totally different comp out of them. They're basically done, in a sense, for this week. H2K, but it's nice to see that they have these other things prepared. So moving forward in the tournament, they have more than just a lane dominant style or something, that they can switch up their picks this much and still be fine. Yeah,
and it's a difference for H2K here from this composition, but nothing that we haven't necessarily seen already. Right. So not like they're showing their hand or oversharing for moving forward if they do make it out.
They will have to play one more game. I'm pretty sure regardless, because they now...
It's for first place though, right?
Exactly, exactly. They are through. They will have to play another game for seeding because they're 1-1 against everybody in the group. So it doesn't matter whether EDG or AHQ win the next game. There is another game for seeding. So still another game not to show anything extra, but I don't think, again, like yesterday's game, H2K certainly can take it and they'll want to, but I don't think they'll, you know, show everything that they got.
Yeah, and seeing exactly what happens after this next game as well, it's going to be very important for H2K to decide whether or not they want to show or not show anything, because honestly, it's going to be do or die at that stage, potentially, depending on who they're going up against. So very, very scary stuff. We'll see how things are going to go. This group, all of a sudden, towards the end of the day, has become very, very exciting with how it's going to turn out, just based on H2K's incredible performance.
We got a showdown between AHQ and EDG. One team can make it out.
Yeah, I'm going to be on this stream for it. along with Atlas.
Oh yeah, MarkZ going to be returning for the next game, which is going to, unfortunately,
It's
saying
all
goodbye
right.
to
Hey,
I
it's
think
been
Frost's
great.
back in, right?
Yeah, Frost's coming back in.
She'll be way better at
Hey, do you want to give us a little bit of an insight into your thoughts about the next matchup? What do you think EDG have to do to turn things around? I mean, we know that Pawn's coming back in.
Oh, yeah, we did get told that. Got that little briefing.
The memo.
I think if Tahm Kench is banned, I think if the Rek'Sai isn't there and Clear Love's left on the Elise, I think AHQ actually have a shot.
Yeah, I certainly think so too. Of course, EDG were able to turn around the first showing, but AHQ looking a whole lot better. But we'll be back for the last game of the day when we plunge EDG into the fog of war. Until then, we're going to pass it back to the mainstream for an interview with H2K's Forgiven. We'll see you back here in a few minutes.
You had to win a lot of games to secure it, and in the